Hi, my name's Emily. I work for Sheffield City Council and my job is that I am an Apprenticeship Advisor and I provide information, advice and guidance for schools, students, parents, sixth forms and colleges all across the city and into Barnsley and Rotherham as well. So that's my job. It means that I support schools and I support students and parents with information about apprenticeships. So I make sure that they know what they are, how to get one, what they need to do in order to give themselves the best chance. I also support them with applying for vacancies and I speak to my wider team to try and put students forward for vacancies that would match them and they would be good for. But I haven't always done this, so I've been in this role for almost a year. Prior to that, I was a primary school teacher. So I always wanted to be a teacher. My whole school career was geared up to becoming a teacher. So I did my A-levels and then from there I went to university, studied English literature at Birmingham City University. From there, I decided that I needed to get some experience. So I started working as a teaching assistant. I did that for 2 years. And then I got onto my PGCE and did my teacher training. So that took me a year. And then after that, I applied for jobs in Sheffield in primary schools here. And I worked in primary schools here for 5 years until I decided that I wanted to change. And I really liked my job. But there were elements of it that I wasn't so keen on. And I wanted to try something different and give myself a bit of a fresh perspective on what I can do in the workplace. What do I like about my role? If I had to choose the top 3 things that I like about my role, the first one is that it's people facing. So I get to work with people. It's not just me looking at a screen or working completely on my own. I have to have lots of conversations with people, listen to people, understand what they want and be able to provide them what they need. I also like that my job is working with young people because that was a really big element of why I wanted to be a teacher in the first place. I liked working with young people, so I'm getting to work with slightly older young people than what I'm used to, but I'm really enjoying that and I like being able to support them and to help them to decide on where they're going to go for their future and make sure that they've got the best chance at doing that. I also like that I'm in charge of my own schedule. So I'm pretty much the only person that does my role. I am supported by my wider team, but I'm the main person that goes into schools and does this role, which means that I organise my own schedule. If I need a day catching up on admin, I'll keep that day free on purpose and I won't book in to go into any schools. If it's a really busy week, then I'll book to go into schools lots and I can book to go into schools that are near each other on one particular day. So it works really well for me because it means that I can arrange my schedule as I see fit and as I think is going to work the best for me and the schools that I work with. What skills does my role use? So a lot of the skills that I use in my job I've actually developed in my time being a teacher. So one of the key things that I need to be confident doing is public speaking. So part of my role is speaking to large groups of people, speaking to classes, to whole cohorts of students, and presenting while I'm doing that. So that doesn't bother me at all. I'm quite confident with public speaking and I really have to be for my job. And that's something, I wasn't confident when I was younger. I was really quiet, really shy. The thought of speaking in front of people petrified me. But when I became a teacher, I realised I just needed to get over that phobia. And with time, you realise, nothing bad's going to happen. Everyone makes mistakes while they're up there and has blunders, but that's absolutely fine. Another skill that I use in my job is creativity. So especially at the moment with COVID, I can't get into schools the same way that I used to. So I've got to think creatively about how I can still provide support for schools. But also if a school comes to me and wants to run a session, it's up to me to decide how best it's going to be to run that session and create the resources for that. So I really like that part of my job. And another skill that I have to use that's really important is teamwork. So I work as part of a wider team of Opportunity Sheffield, and I have to work together with them to find out about vacancies. They will let me know about vacancies that are coming up, and I have to communicate with them about candidates that I think might be right for a role and put them forward for that. So it's a really important part of my job because without that, I wouldn't be able to do an effective job of supporting young people into apprenticeships. And it might mean that young people miss out on vacancies that they would have been able to secure without me. What other opportunities are there in local government? So Sheffield City Council is local government. And there are hundreds of jobs within the council, so some you wouldn't even think exist. And you find out about them as you do some research and you look on job websites and things like that. But there are jobs in the council that are in IT. There are jobs in repairs and maintenance, so the construction side of things. There are jobs in housing, supporting people with council housing, but also private housing as well. There are social work roles, there are IT roles, the whole IT team. There are loads of admin roles, there's legal stuff. There are every job that you can imagine pretty much exists in the council because it's so massive. It's a huge organisation. You know, there are staff that go out and support schools in lots of different ways, that support with inclusion and making sure that students can make it through school to the end of year 11. And there's my role, and my whole team supports with employment and making sure that people in the city with barriers to employment can access it. So it's really wide and really varied within the council, the jobs that you can do. If I had to leave you with one thing to think about, it would be not to consider what do you want to do, it would be to think about what sort of environment do you want to work in. So when I changed jobs and I decided that I didn't want to be a teacher anymore, the first thing I asked myself was, what kind of environment do I want to work in? Well, I knew that I wanted to work in something where I didn't have to kind of perform quite so much as I did when I was a teacher and be on all the time. But I didn't want to lose that element of working with other people and being people facing. So that's the kind of job that I looked for. I didn't know that this job existed before I found it. So think about what kind of environment do you want to work in? Do you want to work on your own in an office? Do you want to be out and about doing something different every day? Do you want to work in an active environment? Do you want to be sat down and work at your own pace? That's something really important to think about, because if you apply for a job and it isn't the type of environment that you want to work in, ultimately you're not going to be happy doing it. So rather than think, what do I want to do? You're not going to know about a job unless you know it exists. Think, right, this is the environment that I want to work in. Let me go and research what jobs might fit in to this type of working. I hope that was helpful. Hope it was useful. And thanks.